Hi everybody. We're back to chisel plowing. Looks like we're gonna have a few good days of it, although Dad said on the radar, I didn't look, but Dad said on the radar we might get rain down here in about a half hour. I'll believe it when I see it, but if it does, I doubt it amounts to much. I'm trying to milk these. I got a brand new set of points for this thing over at my house. I'm trying to milk the last little bit out of these things I can get, because the price of tillage iron. Might as well wear them down to a nub. So close this window for a minute. So last time we got done spreading fertilizer, except for the muck. I'll do that with my spreader when it's time. Yesterday, hopefully something in the priority valve. It's kind of hard to believe it's the pump, as easy as it steers. Because in the case of hydraulic, or in the case of pump failure, minimum system pressure, or minimum system pressure before it prioritizes steering and kills your hydraulic functions is 1500 psi. I believe at 1500 psi it would just steer like an absolute dog. So, which it steers fine, it's one finger. So, hopefully it says something in the priority valve being gummed up. done. I forgot how nice that dirt was. It's been hay for so long. I haven't seen it worked in years. I'm trying to remember. I fit it down the first time he planted it to hay. I'll have to show you. The 1086 that I used is still sitting back there hooked to the round baler, but I was probably 7, 8. I don't think I was 10 years old yet, but I was driving that 1086 pulling a 15-foot column mold, 15-foot. I can't remember if there was a, yeah, it was a Brilliant, but it was older than mine. 15-foot column mulcher out here, knocking that down for hay the first time. Then it was hay for forever. They took it out for a year. I think they put beans on it. And then that following fall after that, that's probably 6, 7 years ago, they worked it again, put it into alfalfa, and it's been alfalfa up until this last summer. So it's been forever since I've seen that ground worked. But so it ought to. Then he put beans on it last year, or last summer, after he took first cutting off. So it ought to grow some really nice corn. But anyhow, I'm gonna stop and grab a little bit of fuel. I'm not gonna fill it. I just want enough to run the rest of the run for another couple hours, maybe hour and a half. Then we're gonna run down the road and start on that field down there. This crap. The local snowmobile club runs their trail through here, and they ain't been around yet to pick their shit up. You'd think they'd make that a priority in like March, because by that time it's 20, 25 years ago, we just still had rideable snow in March. But heck, I think this winter they might have only had, if we had 2 weeks of rideable snow, I'd be impressed, because they say a minimum of their trail rules say a minimum of 4 inches of snow. Bullshit. Them guys will come out here and ride till it's dirt. Which I don't know much about snowmobiling, but I gotta believe that's kind of hard on carbide on skis and whatnot. But there's a lane right there. That's why I threw that stuff there. That's a cool picture. Nice little cloud, and then you got the pink over there. But I'm not gonna run out here too. It's already 9 o'clock. I'll probably run until about 10 and call it quits. I can't be going into work tired. I still gotta get home yet, because I don't have a truck, because I drove the tractor. I got, you know, you can't see it, but I got a pretty decent chunk of this started. Probably 5.5, 6 acres-ish maybe, but I said I was gonna go till 10. It's quarter after. By the time I get home and get dinner, I'm probably gonna be in bed at midnight again, like I was last night after working on the 270. So we'll come over here tomorrow, and I won't be able to finish up here. I'll be able to finish this corner. I can't do anything up by the road yet. They want me to hold off on that for a barn project. They're trying to get work done. And then I'm gonna have to measure off 2 acres in this strip over here because they're gonna put a horse pasture in. Apparently they accidentally inherited a couple horses that they weren't expecting, so I gotta get a pasture put in. So I'm gonna wheel off 2 acres so I can get the back half of this field done. And then that'll be basically it for what I can do for here, and then we'll move on to the next field. But that'll be for tomorrow. Okay, we're back out here today to finish up what I can in this field. And then we'll move on down to the next one. I should have finished this chunk last night, but they got a trail along the woods and it was so dark I couldn't tell where it was, so I wanted to wait. Groundwork nice though. Wonder how many more acres E-points are going to get on them. All right, we made it as far on this field as I can. Got a fair old bit done. I wasn't initially planning on doing any part of this front field at all, but I got this much here done. I'm leaving that triangle because they're going to build a pole barn up there in the corner, and they need to scrape some dirt to make grade because it dips off where they want to build the barn. So I'm leaving that for them for that. Oh, that's a mouthful. And hopefully her brother-in-law is supposed to bring his dozer out, come do it, but I guess his dozer's broke. So she said if it doesn't happen in a timely fashion, then I'll just farm the normal what they've been doing, and then they'll worry about the dirt work next fall. So that's where that stands. But we're 90% done out here. It's probably an acre and a half left right there. So we'll come back to that when the time comes. And now we're gonna go start working on some small fields down the road here. All right, I got that piece, this little piece, and then the piece over yonder. Hopefully get the majority of this knocked out tonight, and then tomorrow we'll jump on the big piece here on the north side. So we'll see how things go. calling it for the night. It's a little earlier than it was last night. I'm about halfway done with this goofy piece over here, and I'm back out in the back where it starts to run up along the neighbor's lawn, and the bean stubble back there is kind of non-existent, and the weeds in the yard look kind of, it's hard to tell where the edge of the field is and where the edge of the yard is in the dark. So rather than risk chiseling up the neighbor's lawn, and I'm already guessing that this guy doesn't get along with the landowner, judging by the fact that he put a no trespassing sign over there along his driveway, right at the edge of the field, facing the field. I'm guessing speculation, but do with that information what you will. So rather than cause any grief by making a tillage mistake, we'll come back down here and finish up in the daylight when I can actually get a better look, see where the edge of the field is. So with that being said, we will catch you guys tomorrow. Field's done. I'm gonna have to run up here with the loader tractor. Is that a rock or is that concrete? I think that's a rock. Or is it? That might be concrete. That's concrete. Yeah, there's rebar in it. That's concrete. That's a rock. That's a rock. That's a rock. This is a rock. I'd be willing to bet money. That's a brick. Rock, rock, rock. Holy crap. I'd be willing to bet money there was a bank barn here at one point. Disc blade. Disc blade. That makes 3 disc blades I've found out here so far. Is there anything else? Sure there is. But yeah, I'd be willing to bet money just judging by all these rocks. And there's just other kind of random like trash, garbage type stuff right here.
And this hill just does not feel natural, like the way it drops off right there. I'd be willing to bet money there used to be a bank barn right here, and something happened, burnt down, they tore it down, whatever, and they filled the foundation in, and here she sits. Because those rocks are just too convenient for this hill. Found that one down at the bottom of the hill by the swamp. So, I felt that one. I didn't feel any of these other ones, but that one jarred me. So I can bring the 1600 in a bucket down here and pick those guys up to the soil finisher, and definitely the crumbler ain't gonna like any of them. So now we can head on back to the big field. That was a pretty decent evening. That's the best one I've turned out so far. It is amazing the difference it makes, or how much your work rate increases with the same equipment, just going from little patches to a big field like that. It's just nuts how much more you get done when the tool stays in the ground more than when you're turning around. Yeah, just about time to change them. So, with that being said, it's time to call it a night. And I think tomorrow, depending on what happens, some places have taken the rain out, some places haven't. I don't know if it's gonna rain or not. But if not, we're gonna go start on my uncle's place, which I've only got roughly 60 acres left to chisel, so I'm really not sitting too bad. Although that being said, a week ago I thought I wasn't sitting too bad as far as having stuff ready, and now I feel like I'm way behind. So, but you'll have that. So anyhow, we'll catch you guys tomorrow. Well, no chisel plowing today. It's cold, wet, rainy. It hasn't really actually rained much. I don't even think we got a tenth yet, but it's enough to put a little bit of tack back in the ground, so I'm gonna hold off. Still raining right now. It's supposed to continue for another about 2.5 hours. Could be longer though, because they said it was only gonna rain for, well, they said there was no rain today, and then it turned into a chance of spotty showers, and that turned into it was coming, they just didn't know when. And it was supposed to rain quit at 4:15, and it just keeps building. So, which, in all honesty, if it wants to keep raining, ain't gonna hurt my feelings none, because I got other stuff I want to get done. And if it rains enough to not be able to get into the field for a day or so, it's just gonna give me an excuse to not have to get into the field for a day or so, so I get other stuff done. So we still got to get the planter hooked up, drill calibrated, got to figure out Eleanor. I need to get the yard mowed. I'm probably going to teach Shelly how to run the sear so she can mow the yard, because I'm probably not going to have time. But there's stuff needs done that doesn't involve field work, and I need an excuse to be able to do it. So anyhow, I'm going to go home or go over to Mom and Dad's and work on Eleanor and see if we can get that figured out yet tonight. Hopefully, maybe, fingers crossed. So that's it for this one. I'll catch you guys on the next one.